The moon of Valion 4 was full of wild trees, thick fog, and strange sounds that echoed through the air. The ground was soft and muddy. The sky was always gray. Most people didn't come here, only explorers, criminals, or those who wanted to hide. But one creature had no choice. It was a strange, rough-skinned animal with long legs, 4 glowing eyes, and patches of missing fur. Its ears were bent, and its tail was too short. It looked like someone had built it wrong. The Yunari, an alien race known for beauty and pride, called it Griv. They had once owned him, but now they left him behind. Griv had been born in a lab like many Yunari pets. But the moment he opened his eyes, they saw his flaws. His skin was wrinkled. His body didn't shine. He didn't bark the right way or move like the others. They said he was ugly. For the Yunari, looks were everything. If something was not beautiful, it had no value. So one day, they took Griv to Valion 4 and tossed him out of a ship like trash. No goodbye, no care, just gone. Griv lived alone now. He stayed near the deep jungle where the trees grew thick and tall like green walls. He ate insects and roots. He drank from muddy water. Sometimes he would watch the sky and make soft, sad sounds. But Griv didn't die. Each day, he grew stronger. He could smell danger before it came. He could hear footsteps from far away. His body healed quickly from cuts or bites, and his mind, it was sharper than anyone knew. The Yunari had created something special without realizing it. They only saw the outside. But inside, Griv was powerful, still. He was lonely. Sometimes, Griv would climb a hill and look at the sky, waiting for a ship that never came. His heart didn't understand why they had left him. But deep inside, something else was waking up. A memory, a feeling like he had a purpose. Like he was made for more than just being a pet. One evening, as the orange moon rose over the trees, Griv heard something strange. It wasn't a growl or a bird's call. It was loud, metallic, and fast. He looked up. A ship was falling from the Maivei. Sky burning, broken, spinning out of control. Griv watched as it crashed into the jungle, fire bursting from the trees. Smoke curled into the air. The jungle shook. Animals ran. Griv did not run. He sniffed the air. Something was different. Something was coming. He moved slowly through the trees, careful not to step on dry branches. His eyes glowed softly in the dark. Soon, he saw the crash site. The ship was half buried in the ground. Parts were still burning. Sparks flew from wires. Griv lowered his body and sniffed again. Someone was alive. He stepped closer and saw a small figure crawling out of the wreck. It was a human. The human was a woman with short brown hair and cuts on her face. Her clothes were torn. She limped as she moved, holding her side in pain. Her name was Mira, and she was part of a small Terran scout team. She didn't know where the rest of her team was. She didn't even know if they were alive. All she knew was that she had to survive. She stumbled forward, coughing from the smoke. Her eyes blinked. Then she froze. She saw him. Griv stood still, his glowing eyes locked on hers. Mira reached for her belt. Her sidearm was gone. She looked at the creature, ugly, large, and strange. It growled low, but didn't move. Her heart pounded. She didn't have strength to fight or run. "If you're going to eat me," she whispered, "make it quick." But Griv didn't attack. He tilted his head. Then, slowly, he stepped back and turned around. He looked at her again, then walked away, and stopped, waiting. Myra didn't understand. Was this creature trying to help her? She had no other choice. Her leg was bleeding. She was tired. She followed. Griv led her through the jungle, around sharp stones and poisonous plants. He stopped near a large hollow tree with dry moss inside. Safe, dry, hidden. He lay down near the entrance. Mira crawled in and leaned against the wood. "Thanks," she whispered. Griv didn't answer, but his ears moved at her voice. That night, Mira slept with her back against the warm moss and the strange creature guarding the door. She didn't know why it helped her. She didn't know what it really was, but she felt safe. And that was enough for now. When the sun rose on Velion 4, the jungle was quiet again. The smoke from the crashed ship still floated in the sky, but most animals had returned to their usual paths. In the hollow tree, Mira slowly opened her eyes. She felt sore all over. Her leg hurt, her side throbbed, and her throat was dry, but she was alive, and she wasn't alone. The strange creature Griv was still there, lying just outside the hollow. His eyes were open, watching the jungle. He didn't move when she sat up. His ears twitched slightly, picking up every sound around them. Mira looked at him carefully. His skin looked rough, almost like old leather. His mouth was wide, his tail stiff and short. He was bigger than most animals she had seen, but something about him felt calm. "Hey," she said softly. Griv didn't answer, of course, but his eyes blinked slowly. Mira took a deep breath. Her water supply had burned in the crash, and she had no food. Her cum device was crushed. She was stranded. But this creature had saved her life. Maybe he could help her again. Mira tore a strip of cloth from her sleeve and wrapped it around her bleeding leg. She hissed at the pain but kept going. Then she crawled out of the tree and stood, her balance shaky. Griv stood up too. Mira smiled weakly. "You're not going to eat me, are you?" Griv sniffed the air, then looked toward the jungle. He gave a small grunt and walked ahead, slowly, like he wanted her to follow. Mira limped after him. They walked through the thick trees for a long time. Griv avoided sharp thorns and led her on a wide patch of poisonous vines. He seemed to know every part of the jungle. "How do you know where everything is?" Mira asked. Griv didn't answer, but Mira noticed something strange. He would stop every now and then and sniff the air. Once he froze, listening. Mira followed his gaze and saw something in the trees, a large green lizard with 6 legs and long teeth. Griv growled low. The lizard hissed but backed away. It didn't challenge him. After a while, they reached a small stream. The water was clear and cool. Mira dropped to her knees and drank with both hands. She splashed some on her face, then looked up. Griv didn't drink. He only watched her. "You're not thirsty?" she asked. Griv lowered his head and took one long sip, then stood again. Mira sat on a flat rock nearby and looked at the trees above. Sunlight filtered through the leaves. She still didn't know what this creature was, but he wasn't just a wild animal. He was too smart. "Do you understand me?" she asked. Griv looked at her for a long time. Then, very slowly, he gave a small nod. Mira's eyes widened. "You do, don't you?" He blinked again. Mira leaned forward. "You're not just an animal. You were trained. You were someone's pet?" "No, not a pet. More than that." Griv looked away. There was a pain in his eyes, like he remembered something he didn't want to. Mira thought for a moment. "What did they call you?" Griv made a short, rumbling sound. Not a growl, something softer. "A name? Grev?" He shook his head. "Gri?" He nodded slightly. "Griv?" She tried. This time he blinked once, slowly. "Griv," Mira repeated. "Okay, that's your name." They rested near the stream for some time. Mira used a small stick to test her walking. Her legs still hurt, but she could move better now. As the sky grew darker, Griv stood and looked to the west. He sniffed the wind again, then growled. "What is it?" Mira asked, standing too. Griv started walking fast, too fast for her weak leg. "Wait, Griv," she called, but he didn't stop. Something had changed. Mira forced herself to follow. She limped quickly through the underbrush, trying not to fall. After a few minutes, she heard it too, a soft humming sound, deep and far away. Then she saw it. Through the trees, a tower stood tall, covered in vines and moss. It was old, clearly alien, and shaped like a long crystal, reaching into the clouds. Lights blinked near its base. Griv stood at the edge of the clearing, growling softly. Mira stepped beside him. "What is this?" Griv stared at the tower. His body was tense. His ears twitched. Mira felt something strange too. A soft vibration in the ground. The air felt warm near the tower, almost electric. Then she noticed a symbol on the side of the tower. It looked like a spiral wrapped around a single glowing eye. Mira didn't recognize it, but Griv did. He stepped back, shaking his head, letting out a deep sound, not of fear, but warning. Mira touched his shoulder. "Is this place dangerous?" Griv didn't answer. He stared at the tower. UNMOVING. Mira looked again. "This isn't just a jungle, is it? Something is hidden here." Griv lowered his head, then turned away from the tower. He wanted to leave, but Mira couldn't stop staring. What was this place? Why did Griv react like that? And more importantly, why was it calling to her? Mira could not stop thinking about the strange tower, even after she and Griv moved far from it. Her mind kept returning to the glowing lights, the spiral symbol, and the strange hum that filled the air. Something about that place felt old, very old and powerful. Griv didn't like it. That much was clear. The moment they left the clearing, he moved quickly and silently, avoiding every path that pointed back toward the tower. He didn't make a sound. He only stopped to sniff the air and listen. Mira trusted him. Even if she didn't fully understand what he was, she knew one thing. Griv wanted to keep her safe. They walked for hours through thick jungle. Mira's leg was still sore, but she pushed forward. Griv was always nearby, sometimes leading the way, sometimes circling behind her, watching their surroundings. It was strange. She had grown up hearing stories about dangerous alien creatures. The galaxy was full of them, beasts that hunted humans, stole supplies, or destroyed ships. But this one, this strange, ugly, silent creature was her protector. Mira decided to talk to him, even if he didn't answer. "You know," she said, stepping over a thick root, "back home, they would probably lock you up. They'd say you're too big, too strange, too scary." Griv snorted, "But I think you're smarter than most people." He looked at her from the corner of his glowing eyes. She smiled. "Don't let that go to your head." By evening, they reached a rocky cave on the side of a small cliff. Griv sniffed the entrance and growled low. Then he entered, checking each corner. Mira waited outside, watching the trees. Suddenly, she heard movement, leaves rustling nearby. She froze. Then something jumped out of the bushes. A small creature, no bigger than a rabbit, with 4 eyes and thin legs, squeaked and ran past her. Mira let out a sigh of relief. But then came a second sound. Deeper, heavier, a growl. Not Griv's. Mira turned slowly. Behind her, just beyond the tree line, a large animal stepped into view. It had 6 legs, dark scales, and eyes that glowed red in the shadows. Its teeth were long and sharp, and its claws dug deep into the ground as it walked. Mira backed away. "Griv," she whispered. The beast growled louder and charged. Before she could scream, Griv burst from the cave like a bolt of lightning. He slammed into the beast with full force, knocking it off its feet. The 2 creatures rolled across the ground, growling and biting. Griv was smaller but faster. He bit the other creature's leg, then jumped back. The beast swung a claw, missing by inches. Mira grabbed a long stick from the ground, just in case. But she didn't need it. Griv let out a strange sound, a high-pitched roar that echoed through the trees. The beast hesitated, confused. Griv rushed in and bit its throat. The fight ended quickly. The beast lay still. Griv stood over it, breathing hard. Mira stared at him. "You saved me." Again, Griv limped back toward her. He had a deep scratch on his shoulder, but he didn't seem to care. Mira walked to him and gently touched the wound. "You're hurt." He didn't pull away. She tore another strip from her shirt and pressed it gently against the cut. It was the least she could do. "You're not just smart," she said quietly. "You're brave." That night, they stayed. Inside the cave, Mira lit a small fire using a few tools she had saved from the wreck. Griv lay beside the entrance, his eyes always open, always watching. Mira sat near the fire, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked at him again. "You were built for something, weren't you?" she asked. "You're not just a pet. You're different." Griv didn't answer, but he blinked slowly, as if he understood. Mira leaned back against the cave wall. "My people. They came here to study the stars around this moon. We didn't expect to crash. We didn't expect anything like this." She paused. "I don't know if anyone else survived." Griv looked at her for a moment, then stood and walked over. He lay down beside her, not too close, but close enough that she felt less alone. She smiled. "You know, back home we have animals called dogs. They protect their humans. They don't care what you look like. They just care who you are." She looked at him. "You remind me of them." Morning came, and with it, a new decision. Mira stood at the edge of the cave, looking toward the west. The tower. She couldn't ignore it anymore. There was something inside it, something important. She could feel it. And maybe, just maybe, it could help her get off this moon. Or at least understand what Griv truly was. "We have to go back," she said. Griv growled softly. "I know you don't like it," she said. "But we can't hide forever." Griv looked at her, then at the trees. He seemed to think for a long time. Finally he nodded once. They would go back together. The next morning, the sky above HFY was dark with clouds. Thunder rumbled in the distance, but the air was still. The jungle seemed quieter than before. Mira and Griv stood at the edge of the forest, looking toward the west. The glowing tower they had seen 2 days ago still rose above the trees like a sharp crystal. Its lights blinked softly, calling them. "Are you ready?" Mira asked. Griv didn't growl this time. He only gave a small nod. They moved together through the jungle. The path was difficult. Vines blocked the way. Sharp plants scratched Mira's arms. Griv walked ahead, clearing the trail when needed. Sometimes he stopped, sniffed the air, then changed direction. He seemed to know where hidden dangers were. After 2 hours, they reached the clearing. The tower stood in the center, tall and silent. The strange spiral symbol on its side glowed brighter now, as if it knew someone had returned. Mira stepped closer. "What is this place?" Griv didn't move. He just stared at the tower. Then, slowly, he walked around to the back. Mira followed. There, hidden behind thick vines and moss, was a metal door, old and rusty. Griv placed his paw on a small panel beside the door. To Mira's shock, it lit up. A soft tone rang out. The door slid open with a loud creak. Mira looked at Griv. "You've been here before?" Griv didn't answer, but Mira could see the truth. In his eyes, he knew this place. Inside, the air was cold and dry. Lights along the walls turned on one by one as they walked. The hallway was long and curved, made of smooth metal with strange writing Mira didn't understand. "This is very old," she whispered. Griv walked slowly, his head low, as if remembering something painful. They reached a large circular room. At the center was a platform with a glowing core floating above it. The core pulsed with blue light. Around the walls were machines, some broken, some still working. Mira stepped closer to the core. "What is this thing?" Suddenly, images flashed. In her mind, she saw tall alien towers, ships flying across stars, and beasts like Griv marching in formation. Voices echoed in her head, though she didn't know the language. Her legs shook. She stumbled back. Griv stood beside her. His body was shaking too, but not from fear, from connection. The core glowed brighter as Griv stepped forward. Lines of light ran across the floor, connecting the machines. A low hum filled the room. Mira watched as strange symbols floated in the air around Griv. He wasn't scared. He was activating it. "Griv," she whispered. "This was made for you." The machines responded to him. Screens lit up. Maps of planets appeared. Diagrams of living creatures and weapons formed around them. Mira's mouth opened in shock. This place was not just a lab. It was a control center. Then she understood. "This isn't Unari technology," Mira said slowly. "This is something older. Something the Unari tried to hide." Griv growled. "Lo," a sound of agreement. Mira looked around. "Were you built here?" Griv nodded once. Mira stepped closer to one of the glowing screens. It showed a creature that looked like Griv, but larger, stronger, and surrounded by strange armor. "They made you for war," she whispered. Griv looked away. Mira's voice softened. "But you didn't want to fight, did you?" Griv didn't answer, but Mira knew. He had been made to protect, to guard something powerful, to be a living shield. But instead of respect, they threw him away just because he didn't look the way they wanted. Suddenly, the ground shook. A warning sound filled the room. The machines blinked red. Mira looked at Griv. "What's happening?" Griv ran to one of the walls and placed his paw on a new panel. A round screen appeared, showing the sky above the jungle. 3 ships were coming, sleek, silver, and sharp. Uri. "They're coming here," Mira said, shocked. The Unari had discovered that the core had activated. They were coming to shut it down, maybe to destroy it. Griv growled louder, deeper. He moved quickly to another panel and pressed it. Hidden doors opened around the chamber, revealing old weapons, tools, and armor. He looked at Mira. He was ready to fight. Mira stepped beside him. "I'm not leaving," she said. She didn't have armor. She didn't have weapons. But she had something else. She had Griv. As the Unari ships landed in the jungle, the tower glowed with ancient power. Inside, Mira and Griv stood side by side, a discarded human, a forgotten beast. Together, they were about to face something bigger than both of them. But they were not afraid. Not anymore. The sky above Velion 4 turned silver as 3 Unari ships came down from the clouds. Their engines roared like thunder. Trees bent from the force of their landing. Animals ran in every direction. Birds flew away in panic. Inside the ancient tower, Mira and Griv watched the scene through a glowing screen. "They're here," Mira whispered. Griv growled quietly. The Unari were fast and proud. Their armor shone like glass, and their long, smooth heads were covered by thin silver helmets. They moved like dancers, silent, fast, perfect. Everything they wore, everything they used was beautiful. That was the Unari way, but behind their beauty was fear. They had seen the tower come back online. They had seen the old signal. They knew something dangerous had awakened, and they were here to shut it down. Mira looked at Griv. "Do they know you're alive?" Griv looked at the floor. He was not sure. Long ago, the Unari had thrown him away, calling him ugly, broken, useless. They thought he had died. Now he was standing in the center of the very place they wanted to hide. The ancient core was awake. It had accepted him. And that meant one thing. Griv was not useless. He was important. Outside, the Unari troops moved toward the tower. Their leader, Commander Vel, raised a small device to his lips. "Scan the building," he ordered. "If it's still active, destroy it." One of the soldiers spoke, confused. "Commander, this tech is from the old galaxy. It's Zarn built." Vel's face turned pale. "Then we destroy it quickly, before anyone else finds it." He paused. "And if anyone's inside, eliminate them." Inside the tower, Mira picked up a small glowing tool from one of the walls. It was shaped like a handle, with a soft pulse of energy around the tip. "I think this is a weapon," she said. Griv nodded. He was already wearing a piece of armor that had risen from the floor. It was dark and smooth, like living metal, and it wrapped around his chest and legs. The room was now lit with power. Machines around them had awakened. The spiral symbol on the wall was glowing brightly. Mira felt nervous, but ready. "We can't let them take this," she said. Griv stood tall beside her. Together, they moved toward the tower's entrance, outside. The Yunari placed charges on the tower wall. The metal surface resisted at first, but cracks started to form. Commander Vel raised his hand. "Stand back." Before the charge could go off, the door slid open. Mira and Griv stood there in the doorway. The Yunari soldiers froze. They stared at Griv with wide eyes. Some took a step back. That's one of the war beasts," one soldier said. "But they were destroyed." Vel stepped forward, trying to hide his fear. "It's broken, left behind. Not a threat." Griv took a step forward and growled, deep and loud. The ground trembled. Mira raised the weapon she had found. "We don't want to fight, but we're not running." Vel narrowed his eyes. "This place is dangerous. You don't understand what it holds." Mira kept her voice steady. "I understand that you were afraid of it, afraid of him." She looked at Griv. "You threw him away, but now he's awake, and so is this place." Vel raised his hand. "Capture them." The Yunari soldiers moved fast, but Griv was faster. He rushed forward with lightning speed. His armor glowed as it absorbed the first energy blast. He jumped high, landing in the middle of the soldiers, knocking them back with a mighty roar. Mira moved beside the wall, using her new weapon to shoot glowing pulses of light. The blasts were not deadly, but strong enough to knock enemies down. The jungle shook with the sounds of battle. Birds screamed. Leaves flew through the air. The tower behind them pulsed with blue light, as if it was cheering for Griv. One by one, the Yunari soldiers fell back. They had come expecting to fight something old and weak. Instead, they faced something ancient and powerful. Griv's body moved like it remembered every battle. Every move was perfect. He didn't fight with anger, but with purpose. Mira watched in awe. He wasn't a pet. He wasn't a monster. He was a guardian. Commander Vel, now alone, raised a hand. "Stop, please." Griv stopped. His body was covered in dust and cuts, but he stood tall. Vel dropped his weapon. "You don't know what this tower can do. If it spreads, others will come. The galaxy will change." Mira stepped forward. "Maybe it needs to." She looked around. "This place isn't just a weapon. It's a memory of something you tried to erase. But not everything ugly is useless." She looked at Griv and smiled. "Sometimes the ones left behind are the ones that save us." Vel was taken away, along with the remaining soldiers. The ships were locked and grounded by the tower's systems. Mira sat on a rock outside the tower, watching the clouds slowly clear. Griv stood beside her, calm again. "You're not alone anymore," she said. Griv made a low, peaceful sound. Mira leaned back. She didn't know what would come next. Maybe more Yunari. Maybe other races who wanted the power of the tower. But she wasn't afraid, because now she had Griv, and the galaxy was finally starting to learn. The creature they left behind was not a mistake. He was a message. The air over Valion 4 was calm now. The Yunari ships sat quiet, no longer a threat. Their soldiers were gone. The battle was over, but something inside the tower was still changing. The ancient core was fully awake. Blue lights moved across the walls. Symbols floated in the air. Strange machines began to hum. Power flowed like a river through the ground. At the center of it all stood Griv. Mira watched him with wide eyes. His armor, once dark and simple, now glowed with light. His body looked stronger, taller, and faster. His eyes were brighter than before, sharp, alert, and full of knowledge. He was no longer just Griv. He was something more. Griv? Mira said softly. He turned to her. She took a step forward. Are you okay? Griv nodded slowly. His movements were calm and smooth, like he had done this before. The ancient core floated nearby. It pulsed gently, sending waves of light across the room. A soft voice, not human, not Unari, echoed in the air. It spoke in a language Mira couldn't understand. Griv understood it. The voice belonged to the creators of this place, the Zarn, an ancient race that built life and machine together. Griv was one of their last guardians. The core spoke to him again. It showed him images, maps of stars, threats from far systems, and warnings of what was coming. Griv stood still, listening to every word. Then, the lights stopped. The message was clear. Protect. Defend. Survive. Griv turned to Myra. He walked over and sat beside her. You're different now, she said with a small smile. You've changed. Griv looked at her, then raised his paw and gently placed it on her shoulder. A soft spark of light passed between them. Mira blinked in surprise. For a second, she saw what Griv saw, memories, not her own. Long lines of creatures like him standing in rows, worlds full of towers like this one. And then, silence, loss, destruction. He had been alone for a long time. Mira's voice softened. You waited all this time for someone to wake you up. Griv nodded once. She touched his paw. I'm glad it was me. Suddenly, a sharp sound filled the tower. A signal had been triggered. Mira rushed to one of the glowing screens. A red symbol blinked. What is it? She asked. Griv looked, then pressed a panel. The screen changed to show the sky above the planet. More ships. Not you, not R.I. Different. Larger. Myra's single quotes. Heart dropped. They're coming already? The signal sent out earlier had been too strong. It had reached far. Now others were arriving. Maybe pirates, maybe scavengers, maybe worse. Griv stood and walked to the center of the room. The armor on his body shifted again, becoming smoother, sharper. Plates of energy formed around his legs and back. He was ready. The tower responded to his presence. Walls opened, revealing defense controls. Old turrets on the roof turned toward the sky. Energy shields hummed around the base of the tower. Drones flew up from hidden chambers, lighting the air with soft blue trails. Mira watched in awe. You can control all of this? She asked. Griv looked at her and nodded. The core had accepted him fully. He wasn't just connected to the tower. He was the tower now. As the unknown ships entered the atmosphere, Griv gave a short growl. The lights across the jungle began to glow. Hidden towers, smaller ones, lit up all around. They had been sleeping for centuries. Not anymore. Mira stepped beside him. You're not just protecting the tower, she said. You're protecting the planet. Griv's eyes glowed with calm strength. He pressed one final button. The sky filled with light. The first enemy ship fired a blast toward the jungle. Before it hit, a blue shield shot up and blocked it. Griv sent a command, and the rooftop turrets responded. They fired glowing pulses of energy, hitting the enemy's engines. One ship spun out of control and crashed into the forest. Mira stared. You're fighting like a general. Griv didn't move. He was focused. Another ship tried to land, but drones swarmed it, cutting its engines. A third ship ran, turning back toward space. The battle was over before it began. After it was done, Griv powered down the weapons. The lights inside the tower dimmed back to normal. Mira sat on a rock, breathing hard. She looked at him again. Griv. Or maybe I should call you something else. He tilted his head. Back home, she said, smiling. We call dogs who protect us buddies, friends, loyal ones. Griv blinked slowly. Can I call you buddy? He gave the smallest nod. Mira laughed softly. Buddy it is. The galaxy had forgotten him. They had laughed at his ugly body, thrown him away, left him to rot on a forgotten moon. But now they would know. The old power of the Zarn had returned, not in a weapon, not in a ship, but in a creature the world had called useless. And now that creature had a new name, Buddy, the most dangerous, loyal, and powerful defender the stars had ever seen. News of the battle on Velion 4 spread quickly. First, a small Terran science ship picked up a strange signal from the moon-old technology, long thought lost. Then a few Yunari scouts returned, talking about a beast covered in armor who controlled ancient weapons. At first, no one believed them, but then the footage came out. It showed a glowing tower rising from the jungle, weapons firing into the sky, and one strange creature, 4 glowing eyes, thick skin, moving with calm power, leading the defense. The creature had a name now, Buddy, and he had changed everything. Across the galaxy, many people were watching. On the Terran homeworld, humans were amazed. That thing protected one of us? Many asked. It saved her? On Yunari ships, leaders held private meetings. We made that, one whispered. We built him, and then threw him away. Other alien species asked questions too. Who was the Zarn race that made these towers? Why had the Yunari hidden them? And most important, why had they feared Buddy? Back on Velion 4, life was quiet again. The sky was clear. The jungle was peaceful. The tower stood tall and glowing, and Buddy stood beside it, watching everything. He had built small paths through the trees. He had reactivated other towers nearby. He walked each day, checking the land, listening to the signals. He was not just a beast anymore. He was a guardian of a forgotten world. Mira sat on a rock near the stream, writing notes on a small data pad. Her leg was better now. She had sent a message to the Terran fleet. They were coming soon with help, supplies, and questions. She smiled as she looked at Buddy. You know, she said, when I first saw you, I thought you were just a monster. Buddy looked up, blinking slowly. But now I know better, she added. You're smarter than most of the people I've met. Buddy let out a soft huff and sat beside her. Mira leaned back. What do you think they'll do when they see you? The scientists? The leaders? Buddy gave no answer, but they both knew the truth. People across the stars were watching now. The galaxy had seen what a forgotten creature could do, and things would never be the same. A few days later, the Terran ship Silver Wing arrived. It hovered gently over the jungle, and a small team landed near the tower. They stepped out slowly, hands raised, showing peace. Are you the human scout, Mira? Their leader asked. I am, she said with a nod. They looked at Buddy. Is that the creature? He has a name, Mira said with a calm voice. His name is Buddy, and he saved me. They looked at each other in silence. Then one of them stepped forward. We don't want to hurt him. We just want to learn. Buddy stood tall. He didn't move or growl, but Mira could tell he was ready, just in case. Soon, more ships arrived, not just from Earth, but from other planets too. Some came to study. Some came to ask questions. Some came to see if the power of the Zarn could be taken. But Buddy never let them near the core. He protected it with quiet strength, and Mira stood by him. She spoke at the first council meeting held near the tower. Look around you, she said. This creature was forgotten by one race and saved by another. He is not a weapon. He is a warning, a reminder. The council was quiet. Do not judge others by how they look, she continued. Do not throw away what you do not understand, because one day what you call useless might be what saves you. She turned and placed her hand on Buddy's head. He's not just a beast. He's our friend, our protector, our equal. Over time, the world changed. The Yunari were forced to explain their actions. Many apologized. Some tried to hide the truth. But the galaxy remembered that other creatures like Buddy were searched for, left behind on lost worlds, hidden in deep jungles or frozen in labs. Some were found, some were freed. They called them the Zarn Guardians. But the first buddy was always special. He was the one who woke up the stars. Years later, a statue was built on VELL on -4. It stood in front of the tower. It showed a young woman standing beside a tall creature with 4 glowing eyes and rough skin. The words below were simple. He was not beautiful, but he was brave. And somewhere deep in the jungle, Buddy still walked the paths. He still watched the skies. He still protected the tower, not because he was told to, but because he chose to. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't alone anymore.